Welcome to the Final Hour podcast, coming to you from the original Living Word Christian Center out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. My name is Jim Hammond, and I'm being joined by the others. The others as in...
Oh, we get names because in the Bible, when they say the others, they just say the others.
Last week we were the others. Yeah,
the others.
That's good.
I'm Lonaiah Farrell.
I'm John Gap.
And I'm Jeremiah.
JD.
Jerry.
You always do that.
Jerry.
He's Jerry. He
Jeremiah,
said I could call him
JD.
Jerry.
He did, yeah.
Everyone laughs when I call him Jerry.
Legend.
We have an Israel trip coming from between October 6th through the 18th,
Nice.
2024. As of, I think there's only 28 people, 30 people signed up. We can have up to 100 people and 2 buses. And you can go on the Final Hour Podcast website, or you can go find it easily on the Living Word Christian Center website. Right? Final Hour Podcast website. If you go there, it's up in the right-hand corner. I'm sitting here watching the podcast, and Jerry puts spells it out.
It's beautiful.
Spells it out, Jerry.
Jerry
It's like
helps
a
Jim
real
fish.
podcast.
A real.
It's like a real
That's
podcast.
good.
It is.
It is. Back to the days where we were in the room with the plant.
Yeah. It's a
Small
lovely,
beginnings.
lovely plant.
It's come a long way.
I was going to ask you, do you guys feel like summer camp, when the youth staff are like, is anyone going to sign up? Anyone going to sign up? And then 2 days before the deadline, everybody signs up.
Let me tell you something.
But we don't have a deadline.
If we only have 30 people,
Maybe we should have a deadline.
that'll be on it. Awesome.
Yeah.
We maybe should have.
Because then it's different.
Stretch out on the bus.
Yeah, it's different so many ways. Obviously, we want as many people to be exposed
stretch out
as
on
we
the bus.
can, but if we only wind up with 30, that doesn't bother me one bit. What do we have ready to go before the October 7th thing happened? We had 50?
Yeah.
Right? We had just about filled a bus.
We were going to be packed.
And you don't want a totally filled bus, right?
And I think we should probably explain that we don't sleep on the bus. That we have a hotel.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, because we talk about
We're
the
not
bus
like,
so much.
Oh, we do talk about
That's
the
how we
bus.
get to the different places.
And these,
Correct.
the price is $4,500 round trip ticket from JFK to Tel Aviv and back.
Hold on,
right?
I get a lot of questions. So that does mean wherever your destination starting point is, you have to get to JFK.
That's on
and
you.
get on the flight. That's on you. That's separate from the trip.
Right.
But from that point, from the point you get to JFK, it's $4,500. You get breakfast and you get dinner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And pay for your own lunch.
Yeah.
So this
And
is
souvenirs.
You think $4,500 for 12 days? Price that trip out. Price that trip for against other tours.
Especially flying LL.
I know a trip.
Wonderful airline.
A church taking a tour for a week. It's costing $4,500 right down the road. So it's a good price. You will get to witness Ezekiel 38. No, I'm just kidding. Possibly Psalm 83 war. You might get to it. That's a joke.
I was gonna say we
I don't know,
canceled last
maybe.
time because of a war.
We call it
Listen.
we'll call it the Ezekiel 38 tour.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys didn't see the beginning of when we started the podcast, Jim was going to Israel, and he was fairly certain he was going to be watching Ezekiel 38.
That was like number 2 who was. He
He's
called
like,
in.
I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, he did.
Yep. So
And it didn't happen.
he's kind of dreaming about it.
I want to see it.
It's exciting.
I believe that I'm supposed to see it.
Okay.
So if it happens while we're over there, we'll get the tour out of there and I'll stay. And Lonaiah will be mad about that. But you have to get him through the airport.
Who's gonna get you through the airport?
I have that special
You have that
VIP thing.
That friend.
It's the thing.
So that I'm paying for with my own money also.
You have a Mossad agent that takes you around.
That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like.
There's been some funny calls
in Israel.
just from international airports and gym. Like I've been to some of these airports. Like Lonaiah, I can't read or I can't get. Where's my gate? Where's this? Where's that? And I'm like, I don't know. And one time
I don't speak Dutch.
The Israel. He was there and he's like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, you walk through the doors.
No, because my special VIP person that we paid for didn't show up. Because
he was at his Krav Maga lessons.
Because Lonaiah didn't book it, and so I wasn't expecting it.
Oh gosh!
So then what happens is I have the worst that day luck. I had not covered this in prayer because I thought I was going to be easy
taken care of.
So what happens is I go to the machine where they take your picture, and you have to get that picture taken before you go through customs, Israeli customs. But I happen to get and there's just people everywhere. There's like 5 machines. I just happened to get on a machine that stopped working right when it got to me. So
I'm on the phone. He's like, what do I do? I'm like, I don't know.
I'm standing in the machine. Machine stops working. Everybody else is going through. There's a line behind me waiting. And I'm yelling at the Israelis.
American.
And I'm on the phone.
To say, get over here and help me. You know what? You don't speak, and they don't speak English, right? And
Sorry,
come to
Jim.
find out. All right. So
I'm better when it's a tour.
What happens is what I finally was so embarrassed, I'd let the next guy go.
Yeah.
And so I just went and got back in line on one of the other machines. You put your passport in, and it prints you out a picture that you have to take through customs. That guy, it didn't work for that guy.
Oh,
and it didn't work for the next guy. And it didn't work for the next guy. And so I'm calling Lonaiah, like, am I doing something wrong? Where is my VIP escort?
And then I was like, you should have had it. And I realized that there's a miscommunication with this other tour company. And they missed when I said he wants it on the front and the back end.
If you're willing to pay the money, you don't wait in the long line.
Well, you don't with the tour, but he wasn't with the tour.
Escort you through.
Yeah, the tour you get a special escort. But anyways.
Still, even with the tour, you have to wait.
Yeah,
especially
you do
when you're
have to
leaving.
wait, but you have people.
Yes, you have people. Yes. Well, with
the
I have
fun
a way.
things
I'm
that
willing to
happen
pay
in
the
other
money.
countries.
I'm willing to pay the money to get through the airport in 10 minutes.
I'm too cheap. I'm like, I'll wait in a
I
line.
enjoy
and that's
the
out of my
experience.
mind. The church doesn't pay for that. I pay for that. Okay, just to make that clear for all you out there.
This was an exciting 7 minutes, wasn't it, guys? That was just
I laughed a lot.
That's my new word. Rallery.
A rallery.
Yeah.
What is a
Good
rallery?
humor teasing.
Ooh.
I know. Can you believe that?
I like it.
Popped up in my word of the
probably
day.
heard that from one of your kids.
Word of the day. Dictionary.
That's a real word?
Rallery, yes.
Rallery. How do you spell that?
R-A-I-L-L-E-R-Y.
Look it up, Lonaiah. Look up rallery
Why
right
you
now. Look it up.
questioning me?
Look it up.
Rallery. Good humored teasing. Rallery.
Railery.
That's raillery.
Whatever.
I didn't know it either way.
Rallery.
I didn't know that one.
Railery.
That's
Did
a
you
good
know
one.
railery, Jim?
Yes,
No.
of course I did.
I did not.
Hey,
Railery.
you learned a new word today.
Boy,
Use
we
it.
have lots
Good
of railery
humor
on our
teasing. We do,
good
yes,
humor
we do.
teasing on the podcast.
That's what they tell us. And so...
I hear it a lot because I'm funny.
And fast.
So fast and funny.
Funny and
The
fast.
funniest gazelle I've ever seen.
It's hard being me.
Unrealistic standards.
Unreal.
She is rather confident. The other day,
Oh my God.
I was complaining about. I still do this this intermittent fasting thing, but I was complaining that why am I so hungry at night? You know, that's depressing when you're really hungry at night. You haven't eaten in 7 hours, and you know that you've got another 9 hours to go. That doesn't happen all the time. She looks at me and says, "That's because you're not getting enough fat. You don't have enough fat in your system."
Yeah.
And she says, "You think you know so much about nutrition and you know nothing." And I'm like, "Oh, really, Lonaiah? Okay, let's have a little quiz then."
We did.
I said, "How many, if you weigh such and such, how many fat grams should you have a day? Based, what is the most healthy?"
I said I didn't know.
That's right.
But-
right.
but
and she's
in-
telling me I don't know anything.
Well, I was just stating a fact. But first of all, Jim eats his last meal at a ridiculous time. So of course, by the time you go to bed, you're going to be hungry.
He's like blue hair special at like 4 p.m. at Denny's.
He eats at like 2 p.m. That's his.
That
last
was your
meal.
last meal?
So by the time it's
Yes.
9 p.m., of course you're going to be hungry.
And then
You're
I
supposed
eat
to
it.
sleep during. You take honey. It doesn't break your fast.
Also
Right.
pickles.
Well, pickles. Well, they have calories in it. It goes to your kidney. You want to bypass your kidney and go to your liver. Not that I'm an expert.
She's an expert.
Honey has a lot of calories too. I know.
I think I'm thinking of pickles like just when you're.
Oh yeah, I agree.
When you're trying not to eat it because it's only like 5 grams or 5 calories per pickle. Yeah.
But we did have a debate, and I was like, "You are not eating enough fat."
And then I proceeded to quote to her the fat grams that I had in the last 2 days.
I was like, huh.
Okay, so.
Anyways,
enough of the comedic humor.
Raillery.
Okay, 3 weeks ago in Europe, within a 42-hour, I believe it was a 60-hour time span in Europe. 3 elderly women in Stockholm, Sweden, were stabbed in broad daylight on the street. All of them 70 years old. In London, England, you had 4 people stabbed in a time span of 48 hours. 48 hours. In Paris, you had hundreds of illegal immigrants rioting in Paris, which I think what they want here, being that we have 22 million of them. In Brigalow, France, you had another church burned to the ground. Multiple churches have been attacked there. That was all within a 60-hour time span, 2.5 days. And so what's interesting, all these crimes were committed by people that were new to these countries, not from these countries, immigrants. In many cases, illegal immigrants. In the Dutch city of Dordrecht, that's in the Netherlands, this small town is giving each of their small town members 1,000 euros so they can spend the money they need on safety measures.
Wow.
Because they're opening a center.
Everybody gets 1,000 euros.
Yeah, but
to protect your house.
It's really,
so that the illegal...
they're buying them off because they're opening a center that houses permanently illegal immigrants. Okay, so it's happening over there too, right? They're not going to tell you that on CNN.
It's better than Canada, where they were telling everybody to just leave their car keys
That's
available.
Right. I forgot about that.
So that they can,
so they don't break in your house,
stolen, and not they don't have to come in and be violent against you when they're looking for your keys.
And you know what's so sad? If they do come in, you've got to let them be violent against you.
Well, hold on.
Technically, you can get arrested. If they bust down your door and they come in the house and you blow them away, you can go to jail.
You can. Listen to this. My aunt, she's
that's Minnesota.
Unless you're in
listen,
Florida
in Minnesota
or Texas.
Yes, but my aunt is, she's like 4'1", and she's like maybe 90 pounds. She just is a tiny little thing. And she wakes up in the middle of the night and she hears somebody in her kitchen. She walks in the kitchen. She sees this like 6-foot guy, hood, like black, all dressed in black with a hoodie on. And she's like, "What are you doing in here? Why are you here?" She's like, "Get out of." So she kicks the guy out of her house. She gets into a fight with the guy. And it's like, "If you don't leave right now, I'm going to call the police." And the guy ran away from this. Like, I don't think they're prepared to be confronted. And he ran away from her. And I was like, look at little Aunt Pam kicking people out of her house.
I love that.
I know.
But these small town Netherlands, this little small town, 1,000 euros each to spend on safety measures. They're telling them in advance, you're going to need safety measures because we're bringing in a bunch of illegal immigrants and we're going to house them in your town. So here's $1,000. They're saying, we know this can mess with your safety. Here's 1,000 euros. You can buy an alarm system. You can't buy an alarm system with that. You can't buy a gun. I don't think you can buy a gun in Europe. They're going to give them money. You think what? For the doorbell cams? The right?
Yeah.
I saw one cam in Seattle, Washington situation where the guy's got his camera out there.
Oh, the Ring cameras.
Yeah, the Ring cameras, what they're called. And 3 guys are going boom, 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 boom. Open up, police. 3 white guys. Boom, 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 boom. These weren't immigrants. Illegal.
Yeah, right.
These weren't illegal immigrants. I guess you're not allowed to say that anymore.
We are going to continue saying that.
But so they're banging on the door. And then they realize the guy was like, I don't think I'm opening it.
Yeah.
And so they start trying to
open it up.
Break the door in.
Yeah.
Okay. So these were guys that were trying to fool this guy. They were saying, hey, it's cops, open up. They weren't the cops. They were just trying to get him to open the door. So next thing you see on the Ring cam is this guy starts shooting through the window in the door from the house.
Yeah.
and it misses them. And they run off, but they put 16 bullets into the house on their way out of the yard. Jeez. Okay.
Goodness.
And the Seattle prosecutor was thinking of prosecuting this dude for firing the first shot.
The guy who was protecting his house?
Yes.
Wow.
That's why you don't want to live in a liberal.
But I think it was Minnesota. They would.
Yeah, they would.
Depending on who you are.
Exactly.
But depending on who you are.
That's why if you do have concealed carry, have some sort of association that you are with, even if you're not concealed carry, but you are willing to protect your own home. Have an associate. Doesn't have to be. What's the big one? NRA. It doesn't have to be NRA. There's a few, but if you are part of their association and you get into a situation like that, they will provide legal fees and lawyers that will defend you.
I think it was a Texas sheriff was like, shoot the person.
Yeah,
we won't arrest you.
Texas and Florida are both that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
The reality in Europe is consistent stabbing, murders, shootings, killings, rapes. Mm-hmm. They're even beheading people over there. You do the dive. They're not going to tell you this. If you can do the dive on this, you can find this out. CBS with David Muir, NBC with Lester Holt, or cheesy Today Show in the morning on NBC. Those people are so cheesy. They bother me.
Before I knew anything,
isn't that George Bush's daughter on that thing?
Yeah, Jenna.
Yeah, Jenna.
She's so doesn't she just seem so fake?
I don't watch it.
I have never watched it. I just
not a fan of her book club recommendations. That's for certain.
Look. These are
the ire.
These are things that are happening in Europe that haven't happened before, and it's happening because just like the U.S., they've all opened their borders.
Right.
This is for a reason. Do you think that's coincidental?
No.
Illegal immigrants are pouring into their nations across Europe, and I have to qualify this by saying there are legit moms with children trying to get a new life within these illegal.
Yeah.
And I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
Right.
But you know what? It's 7 out of 10 of them are men. All right? And they're not just coming into America. Do I want 70% men? No. And half of them criminals from the jails? It's already been proven.
Mm-hmm. Right.
A man by the name of Samuel P. Huntington was an American political scientist advisor. He was an academic. He spent more than half a century at Harvard, and he was actually the director of Harvard's Center of International Affairs. During the presidency of Jimmy Carter, this guy was the White House coordinator of security and planning for national security. So this guy, he was a major guy, right? He was credited with helping to shape American views on civilian-military relations, political development. So we know this man is an expert on this kind of thing, quoting Samuel P. Huntington, in the new world of mass migration, the most pervasive, important, and dangerous conflicts will not be between social classes. They will not be between the rich and the poor. They will be between peoples belonging to different cultural entities. Tribal wars and ethnic conflicts will occur within civilizations. And so that was 25 years ago. He said that. And so we can say that, we're there. He's prophesying. I think we're there. We're right on the cusp of that.
Yeah.
And people don't even realize that America, with 22 million illegal immigrants, many of them attending these protests.
Yeah.
They've found out. Notice how the Palestinian thing has morphed into if you believe the Palestinian thing, you believe the transgender thing, you believe the abortion thing, you believe the illegal immigration thing.
Right.
It's like they're all over there together.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got these people dying all over the world from these illegal immigrants, and you absolutely know that it's being suppressed.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, you're not hearing
right
from our illustrious NBC, ABC, CBS, they suppressed stuff up here. There was a girl raped up in Bemidji by 11 illegal immigrants. And you know what? Not a word. Not one single word. Still to this day, right? We don't know if they're prosecuted. We just know by other means you are able to attain that information.
Right.
If you know how to fish like Lonaiah, right?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the biggest things facing America is the legal immigration process starts the process of assimilation, of getting someone from another country into the United States and acclimated to the way that we do life around here, what we value, what our culture is, the freedoms that we have and the freedoms that we enjoy, and the things that are important to Americans are often different than what they're used to in other countries. So the assimilation process is so important. And when people are coming through illegally, they don't go through that process, and they are simply migrating and going into places that people are congregating with the old country, the old place that they're from. And they're basically creating their own country and their own culture in the middle of America, which causes those big divides.
I sent you a Michael Knowles podcast that he did the other day saying Minnesota's turning to, or is, we talked about the Minnesota state flag, right? How they're changing the Minnesota state flag.
It looks like a flag from Somalia.
Yeah.
And we've talked about that.
And Michael Knowles, I'll attach the podcast because it's really good. He goes through talking about Minnesota and how it matches 4 different flags in Somalia, and how there's 100,000 Somalians in Minnesota. We're the largest, besides Somalia, we're the largest place where Somalians congregate. And 1 in every 3 Somalians live in Minnesota.
1 in every 3 Somalians in America.
In America, sorry.
Yeah.
Live in Minnesota.
And most in the
But what
Minneapolis.
John's saying is they're changing the culture of...
And they're still a vast minority, but you know, they're so nice in Minnesota. Minnesota, nice.
Well, and this is, I mean, it goes to the other thing that we see in a lot of blue states is the DAs and the local governments are willing to or unwilling to prosecute when those cultures are going against what American law is, and they're just letting people go and continuing to be criminals. I'm not saying all immigrants are criminals, but when they choose not to be in the American system and part of what we establish as what is right and wrong in America, and they are not prosecuted according to that, then there's no way to control the way of life here in America because it.
No, but I was
just
watching
not willing to
yesterday. The Hennepin County Sheriff's Department had a town hall meeting with Tom Emmers, who's the representative. So they hosted a discussion about Wright County and how dangerous it's being. And the sheriff, Sean Deringer, says the impact of illegal immigrants have had on crime in the state. He's like, it's like they're being coached. He said it's like they come in, they get coached, they learn the system, they're taught, they all do the same thing. He's like, there's no way you have all these illegal immigrants come in and do the same things and cause such havoc and such chaos. And then they get away with it because we have DAs that George Soros has put into place who don't prosecute, who let these people off on parole without having to pay anything, and then they get lost in the system. But this is what the sheriffs are saying. We need to start to have control of the illegal immigrants and be able to stop them from what they're doing, but we don't. Remember when, what's his face, Gavin Newsom in California, he was on that call and he said he was in the grocery store and someone's like, Gavin Newsom lets people walk out of the store without having to pay. He lets them steal. And he was like, no, I don't. Yeah, you did.
Yes,
you signed a policy that said people could take up to $900 and not be prosecuted for their crimes.
That's California for you. And it almost seems like America, Europe, the West, they're either burying their heads in the sand or the church is doing that, and they've just given up. They don't see where we're going. They don't see that this is part of the Great Reset. Do you really accept that these globalist, elitist leaders And trust me, Joe Biden is right there in the midst of them. Fidel Castro's son up there in Canada, Trudeau. Are we accepting what they have in mind for us?
No.
I guess we are.
Not.
If we don't fight for America, for Christianity, for these other countries, don't do the same. This will be a time when the West didn't lose from war, didn't lose by Russia, didn't lose from China or Iran. Those guys don't have to do anything. We didn't lose it on Air Force or Navy or strength of our Army or who has the best tanks or how good are our soldiers. No, this will go down in history as America falling because the invader, the illegal immigration, was invited in by corrupt, elitist left-wingers.
Right.
Think about this. They not only invited in my opinion, the enemy. And I'm not talking about the moms and the children just trying to find a better life. I'm talking about the 22 million. About 16 million of those are men. All right. How many of them are gang members?
Right.
How many of them are coming from the Chinese mainland? Still don't know the purpose of all the Chinese guys. How they somehow got to Mexico, coming in through Mexico. How many of them are being brought in to destroy this country?
Right.
The Christian population in Europe and America is being overrun, and the goal is replacement at an extremely fast rate. Amsterdam, the capital of the Netherlands, 56% migrant.
Wow.
You can't have a culture last. You can't have a country last when it's completely replaced by other cultures.
Right.
The Netherlands is 56% of those people are from other countries. This is all in the Netherlands. Rotterdam, another city in the Netherlands, 60% have been flooded that town with immigration. 60% of that town are from other countries, are flooded with migrants. All these immigrants come from non-Western, non-Christian. We're talking about Europe, okay?
Yeah.
They are all from either African or Middle Eastern countries. They're Muslims, right? And they are not European. They are not Western. This is the situation in these smaller countries in the Netherlands. The original Dutch population is outnumbered. In all their big cities, they are outnumbered with people that are not Christian and not from their culture.
Right.
Can I say something? Because I've read this before I came in here. In 10 years from 2010 to 2020, 1.4 million illegal aliens crossed the border without being caught. In just 3 years under Joe Biden, there was 1.6 million. So think about that. That's just a number.
Wait a minute. What? So read that again.
In 2010 to 2020, 1.34 million people came across the border. So in 10 years, in just 3 years, 1.6 million.
Yeah.
Under Biden?
Yes.
It's more than that.
I know. I'm saying
it's more than that under Biden.
Right, but I'm saying
you're saying only 1.6 million have come in under Biden because I have seen figures way higher than that.
Right.
Way
of
higher
under
than that.
Biden. I said
we've said right here on
without being caught.
We've said right here on this podcast there are 12 million illegal immigrants have come under.
This is the stats that Fox News has, but they're just saying.
But I'm telling you, you have to look at Fox News now, and that has passed. That torch has passed from Rupert Murdoch to his lefty, elitist, liberal sons. And that's the kind of stuff you're going to see because I'm telling you, there are 22 million illegal immigrants in this nation.
I believe it.
And Joe Biden has let in between 8 and 12 million.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right. I'm just
All right.
stating
Not 1.6.
But I'm stating my point is that in 10 years, you had X amount of people. In 3 years, you had that same amount of people that came over in 10 years.
That actually go through
million.
the system. It's their qualifications of things ones that have slipped beyond any system and are undocumented and never even seen in the system. And there are some that have gone and they go through and they request asylum or they request whatever and then are just released into the country and they're documented that they're illegal migrants or whatever. So there's two different things that we're talking about there, but I believe the 8 to 12 is more realistic altogether.
Right. Agreed.
We have
stats on that.
Yeah.
London is 54% right now non-British. People from other countries, other religions, other cultures. That's London, right? Over 50% of London is outnumbered. The native population is under 50%. Brussels, Belgium, the natives, the original people, 70% are from other countries and fairly new.
Yeah.
Or from a Muslim nation. These are just the ones that are over 50. All these other nations are climbing.
Yep.
You look at us and our population is so big. And we're not even talking about people from other countries that got in illegally, but just our population is huge, but we're talking about illegal. Oh, wait, I'm not supposed to say that. People here illegally, okay, that came in over the border, that were given a free iPhone paid for by the American taxpayers. You're not allowed to say that. They're coming in illegally now. They're trying to make that illegal. Mm. This is called the Great Replacement. It was once a theory. It was once but now it's part of the Great Reset by Klaus Schwab. This is not a theory. We are in reality. And so here's the thing. You look at all these countries, they're all approaching it different. And you look at the global elitist, and Joe Biden is one. And they say it's a good thing. It's philanthropy.
Right.
It's charity.
Right.
Right. These climate idiots, right? That's what they are. Climate change.
Right.
Isn't that other bag? Liberate Palestine. Transgender. Let's kill the babies before they're born, right up to the day before they're born. Let your country be overrun by illegal immigrants from criminals coming in from out of another country, out of a prison in another country. These are all they all line up on the same side, right? All these subjects, Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Okay. You've got churches around here that just bury their heads. They just bury their heads.
Yep, absolutely.
Right? And that's their business. You do what you got to do. You want to be a little seeker church? Play the middle. Okay.
I will say, though, I love all the churches that are standing up openly about the religious rights.
Good for River
Minnesota.
Valley. Good for Rob Ketterling.
Yeah.
And Minnesota Grace Church. Like a lot of churches,
Grace
the
Church
pastors
in
are
Prairie.
on it and making statements.
Give them a shout out, right? For sure. But there's other guys, and I just look at them as greedy. They just want the people, right?
Right.
They
say
figure.
Anything.
They figure if they just say if they're very careful,
right,
and they don't
won't offend anything.
They don't call a spade,
right.
Yep. Then they're going to get the people, right? That's how I look at those guys. I'll say that playing the middle and not confronting anything was the reason for the Holocaust.
Yeah,
was the church was silent. What they've done is they've taken lies, going with the the anti-white ideology into the neo-Marxist critical race theory.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. Okay?
Right.
And this goes right into the Bible here. Okay? Psalm 2. I've got a 26 Bible translation. You can click on this. You don't even
Psalms 2.
You don't even have to click on this, and you can see what the 26 Bible translation puts it.
Yeah.
All these Greek scholars, this is how they are defining this Psalms 2. Why do the heathen rage? This is where we are. Why do the nations rage? Why are the heathen in tumult? Wherefore have nations assembled in tumult? Tumult?
Yeah. Tumult. Sure.
Have nations assembled in tumult? What's the United Nations? An assembly of nations, a governing body that's assembled. Why are the nations in an uproar? Why are the nations in turmoil? These are all different translations of the Bible. What means this turmoil among the nations? Why this uproar among the nations? Why do the nations conspire and the people imagine a vain thing? And the peoples plot in vain. Plot, okay? Plot what? Are they plotting? We are in Psalm 2 here. What are we talking about? One world government. How to break down these countries one by opening the borders. Therefore, you have no borders. If you want a one world government, the borders got to be gone. And so, back to the translation. The peoples devise an empty scheme. Yeah, they're scheming. and the people's utter folly. Why do the peoples cherish vain dreams? Why do the peoples hatch their futile plots? Why this impotent muttering of pagans?
Impudent muttering of pagans.
Yeah, that's how the Jerusalem translation of the Bible
feels like really
I just love
Old
Psalm
English.
2. It just makes me laugh when I read it because these guys think they're so great.
We are in
Impotent
Psalm 2.
mutterings of pagans. Feels.
Speaking of, did you see King Charles' new portrait? It looks like it's straight out of hell.
It looks like he's bathed in blood.
He is bathed in blood.
Terrible. It looks like it's straight out of Ghostbusters.
I got 3 texts yesterday, and someone's like, "Is this real? Is this real?" I was like, "It's real."
I had a lady just convince me and told me, I wrote it down. She says, this guy is proving that Prince Charles is the Antichrist.
Right.
And she gave me the website and everything. But this lady was
just not that.
This lady was telling me, he is the Antichrist. So I'm just telling you what.
I feel like the Antichrist has to be good looking.
He's too much of a doofus.
William.
Prince Charles is too much of a doofus.
I don't like William. He just
the Antichrist is going to be smart, good looking.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
a natural orator. You think Prince Charles can speak? He's terrible.
Wait. I do have something.
He's a terrible speaker.
He is a terrible speaker. We had a Mother's Day event this week, and Caleb came up to me. He's a student
Caleb.
And he is, we're not allowed to say that.
Yes, no, but I was going to
great.
say he sent something in on the Antichrist. It was amazing.
You guys, he's just on his computer, just talking to AI, and he says, he just was like listening to the podcast, doing some things, started reading the Left Behind series, and is on the one about the Antichrist, and just says, what does the name Macron mean? Well, Macron means, so he says, what does the name Macron mean? And all of a sudden AI starts spewing information. Macron means God with us. And then it starts saying the Antichrist is expected to emerge from a revived Roman Empire, which is located in Europe. Macron hails from France, a member of the European Union. The number 666 is Macron's full name, and it contains all this. I'll attach all these. But basically, he's saying AI makes the play that Macron is the Antichrist.
That's what AI is saying.
The Emmanuel part, his first name is Emmanuel Macron.
Yeah, Emmanuel
so
Macron.
That's why it's God with us.
And Joe Morris, you must have not watched Joe Morris.
No, I did watch Joe Morris. I know what he said. He said, watch Macron.
Well, okay then.
Anyways, but he was like, this is very interesting that AI starts sending me all this information on the Antichrist, the 666 numbers, and the European Union.
We're allowed to talk about this, but I mean, he's not going to be revealed till we're gone. But look, I bank on it.
Look, this is what AI says. Nevertheless, remember these connections are speculative and not definitive. Whether or not Emmanuel Macron has any role in biblical prophecy remains a matter of interpretation. Nevertheless, it's fascinating to explore these parallels and consider the lateness of the hour in our world's history. That is what AI is saying.
And
that's baffling.
Thank you for that, Caleb. Listen, Prince Charles, he would need a makeover to be the Antichrist.
But they're so boring. Him and William are boring people. They're boring. Okay.
Yes.
And I'm not saying it's Macron, but if I had to he has Syrian and Jewish blood. Which is biblical. Anyways, the listen. We're in verse 2 here.
Well, because the kings.
The kings of the earth set themselves. That's King James. DEW. Kings of the earth take their stand. NEB. The kings of I'm reading the translation. Which translation? The kings of the earth stand ready. See how the kings of the earth stand in array? The kings of the earth rise up. The kings of the earth rising in revolt, and the rulers take counsel together. You don't think these rulers are taking counsel together?
Right.
Yeah.
What do you call the World Economic Forum? And then it goes on to say, and grave men have met by appointment, and the princes conspire together. The Jerusalem translation, princes plotting.
They do. They think they're so great, and I just love that.
And it says, against the Lord and his anointed, still in verse 2, saying, this is what they're saying.
Yeah.
We're going to tell you in just a little bit. We're not even talking about the laws they're trying to impart up here. Okay?
Right.
Like they're trying to take, I don't know, if you're watching
Anti-Semitism Awareness Act, that's what it's called.
I know, but just what they're trying to pass up here is that like Living Word, our church would have to let a man that identifies as a woman, but he's a man, into the women's bathroom. They're trying to say, well, I'm a 36-year-old man, but I'm really a 4-year-old. We have to let him into the 4-year-old classroom. They're trying to take our religious rights away right here in Minnesota.
Yep.
Okay. Against the Lord and his anointed. That's what that means. And even on the national level, they're trying to censor the Bible, and they're being real sneaky about it. Right. We're not going to allow anyone. This is new. If you don't know this, this is crazy. Anybody, no one is allowed to read the scriptures in church of the Jews killing Jesus. See, that is a setup. Because once they censor the scripture in the Bible, once they pass that, they're censoring scriptures in the Bible. That is just the beginning.
Right.
When they are allowed to say there's certain scriptures that can't be read, right? Well, then the next is going to be all the homosexual scriptures.
Right.
Right? That's going to be the next thing.
That'll be the next one.
Against Yahweh, against his anointed one, saying, against Yahweh and his anointed, Jerusalem, against the eternal and his chosen one, crying. That's the Mumford translation. Against Jehovah, against his Messiah, against the Lord, against the king he has anointed, against the Lord and against the king of his selection. It says, verse 3, let us break their bands. They're saying we have bands.
Right.
Okay? How are they going to break our bands? This is what they're saying. They're going to start by censoring the Bible. And that is up for grabs right now. That is up for grabs in our national government. Okay?
Yeah.
Our national government is trying to get scriptures not being allowed to be spoken or preached on that has the Jews crucifying Jesus.
Right, it's called the Anti-Semitism Awareness Act that Congress is trying to pass.
I am a little bit wary of this coming up right now.
Right.
While also the Senate is going to be discussing the WHO treaty.
Well, of course, that all ties in with this.
It ties in, but I'm just saying, if this gets a bunch of Americans in an uproar, are they going to be able to slyly roll that through the Senate because people aren't watching as much? I don't know. Hopefully that brings more attention to what's going on in Congress so that people talk to their senators about that.
Listen, it says, let us, verse 3, Psalm 2, DEW translation, let us burst their fetters. Let us break away from their bondage. Let us tear their restraining bands. So we have restraining bands. How are they tearing our restraining bands apart? Well, it starts with passing laws to tear the church apart.
Right.
Which is what they're trying to do up here in Minnesota. Let us break their fetters. Let us cast away their cords and cast from us their cords and fling off their control. The only control we have in this country right now is our religious rights to assemble.
Right.
And really, they're trying to delude that right.
They are. That? Can I say something on the Michael Knowles thing I was watching?
Yeah.
Remember in 2020 how they were saying that a bunch of churches in Canada had like bodies of Indians in their basements?
Yes.
So people were burning down. It just was like I don't even know how it went crazy, but he was explaining that statement was made on purpose because they knew that during that time riots were happening and people would get mad and upset and they would burn down churches.
Right.
So they said they just like gave a little information to set people off, and then they burned like 230 churches. So like think of this is Canada.
Yeah.
And they spent like I can't remember the money he quoted, but it was like let's just say $234 million or $1 billion or something to investigate in these churches to find the bodies and skeletal figures of children or bones of people. They found nothing.
What actually had happened was government schools that were abusing and neglecting and then burying first. No, they did. They said that, but the actual thing that was happening was that government schools were doing that to First Nations, Native American children in the past. And so there was graveyards behind these schools but the churches were being blamed for that. And so
They
a
burned
little bit
churches.
of misdirection, and all of a sudden you have a bunch of churches burned down.
So this is what all the evil guys they're meeting, right? This is Psalm 2. This is what they're saying. Let's fling off their restraints and talking about us. So they're planning, right? I think this has a very spiritual meaning. What do I mean? That's the HAR translation. Fling off their restraints. Okay?
Yep.
That takes me to 1 Thessalonians 2:6. What's restraints? Nor did we seek to, this is a end time scripture, connecting it to Psalm 2, verse 3. Nor do we seek to extract praise and honor and glory from men, either from you or from anyone else. Okay.
Did it go away?
No, it's just not the right scripture. But I'll find 2 Thessalonians here for you real quick.
What may get you?
Yeah, but I like the Amplified Classic. I got it here. Okay. 2:6. Okay. And now ye know what withholdeth, that he might be revealed in his time. The Amplified says restrain. Now you know what is restraining. This is an end time scripture. It's talking about the Antichrist. These are scriptures about the Antichrist. Paul is in essence saying that, and I've taught on this many times in this podcast.
Yeah.
2 Thessalonians 2:6 means, King James, withhold. That word means restrain. We are restraining.
Right.
We are restraining this stuff. We are supposed to restrain this stuff. All right? And by speaking up, not burying our heads, obviously, with prayer. No, it said, we just read HAR translation, and fling off their restraints. And we are the restrainers, right? We are the ones restraining the Antichrist, because there's an appointed time. The spirit of Antichrist is here. If you read these, it's already here. It precedes him.
Right.
It is up to us to stamp it down until we're taken out of the way.
Right.
Until we're taken out of the way. And so,
What happened?
it's just, that's not.
You said 1 Thessalonians. I will stand
Think about
by
that. Yeah, of course you will. Think about that. Psalm 2 is referring. Isn't she a great defender of herself?
I am.
You're not going to find a better defender of herself.
I would always prefer to have Lonaiah on my side.
Yeah, I will fight for you, John. Don't cross me though. Then I won't fight for you anymore.
I won't, because I don't want that smoke.
Lonaiah is very loyal, right?
Is.
But she likes to. She'll go back and forth with you, and it's hard to get her to admit she's wrong about anything. But think about
I know what I heard there. I know what I heard there.
Think about that. Psalm 2 is referring to the Christian world restraining something, and 2 Thessalonians 2:6 is talking about we have a duty to restrain.
Right.
The coming of the Antichrist, the spirit of Antichrist that's in the world pressing in on us like it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, in one translation of Psalm 2, it's referring to the Christian world having restraints.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And they're saying, let's fling off their restraints.
Fling off.
Right? Let us cast their shackles from us. Like we have power to hold something back. Let us cast their cords of course from us. Cords of course from us. Now let us throw off their yoke. That's what they're saying. These guys we are in the spirit. You're supposed to be doing that in the spirit.
Yep.
I could take you through. Am I going to have to teach 2 Thessalonians 2?
Maybe.
Again, he that sitteth in the heavens, verse 4, laughs.
This is my favorite.
That's what's going on right now in heaven.
Yeah.
I think this Psalm 2, 1, 2, and 3 is going on right now.
Yeah.
So verse 4, it says, he who dwelleth in heaven will laugh at them to scorn.
Doesn't that make you feel good that God's like...
He's laughing at them.
Yes, he's laughing at them.
He who dwells in heaven is laughing at their threats. The enthroned in high heaven laughs. The one whose throne is in heaven sits laughing. That's the Jerusalem translation. The Lord shall have them in derision. derision.
Derision.
You got it.
The Lord will treat them with derision. My Lord will mock at them. My Lord makes sport of them. Okay.
Shall make sport of them.
But you know what? That's if you don't quit. You have to. We cannot quit here.
No.
You cannot put your head. I mean, we give him a chance to work if we stand up here. Right?
Right.
But if we bury our heads in the sand and just let these idiots take our nation, take Europe, same thing's going on in Europe. You never hear that from NBC with Lester Holt.
Yes.
Or the Today Show with Hoda, whatever her name is.
Yeah.
Hoda. That's just her name. Can I say something really fast?
Of
because
course.
I don't know if anyone has seen this, but Winston Marshall from Mumford and Sons.
Yeah.
He debated Nancy Pelosi at Oxford University.
That's a band. Mumford and Sons is a band.
You know the song, I Will Wait for You?
Yeah.
That's a great song. Okay, anyways, he was the banjo player.
Yeah.
And he debates Nancy Pelosi. He didn't find out that
Well, he didn't debate her directly, but she's in the...
No. He explains that it was a debate. So,
Yeah.
he says, like, hey, do you want to come here and have a conversation, if that's what you want to call it, with this person?
Okay.
So he decides that when he goes to Nancy Pelosi, he's going to bring up specific items to discuss.
Right.
One being January 6th,
Yep.
why the left condemns certain...
February 7th.
Well, February 7th.
That's what we call it because we've been canceled for saying the other date.
Okay.
So in place of that date, we say February 7th.
So he gets canceled from his band in 2020 because he starts to say, hey, why is everybody getting woke? Why are you guys
Right.
attacking
Right.
all these things? It's not right. So basically the band's like, hey, your political views are affecting us. Can you please leave? So he's like, yeah, I would rather tell the truth
Right.
than be part of this band. So he goes and he's debating Nancy Pelosi and he's reading tweets.
Is this at Oxford?
Yes.
In England?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
And this is great, you guys. Like him and all of his buddies are like dressed in like tuxedos,
Yep.
and Nancy's there with her husband Paul in the front row, who's looks like
The guy that got attacked.
Yeah, and that guy's going to jail for 50. His
I'm sure.
person who hit him with a hammer,
Yeah.
while they were both in their underwear. Yes,
Yeah,
but
they're
anyways,
both in their underwear.
yeah. So anyway, he's
Nancy's
debating
husband.
Nancy Pelosi, and he's making statements, and he reads about Donald Trump and how Donald Trump requested to have
The National
Guard come,
Yep.
and how Nancy Pelosi rejected the National Guard coming.
Right.
So he starts saying, why did you do this? Why did you do this? This is what happened. And when the camera wasn't on her,
Yeah.
she says to him, who are you?
Yeah.
Who are you? What are you doing right now?
Yeah.
So she's trying to threaten him. And
Yeah.
he's like, I'm a nobody. I don't
Right.
care. Like, I'm going to stand up for my
Yep.
rights. But that's what that reminds me of. Like,
Right.
these people are basically saying, like, do you know who I am? Like, they're
Right.
threatening people, and they're trying to, like, bind people and act like they can ruin them. But
Yeah.
I have these debates tagged on here. But this guy does such a good job defending, like, the sovereignty and explaining
Yeah.
why you have to fight
did.
to keep your voice.
And
it was-
he did a really good job of noting how Obama was
Yes.
was changing the meaning of words.
Yes, that was my other thing. I
And
was
he
gonna say.
started, he was basically a populist.
Yes.
Obama was, but as the rise of Donald Trump was happening, he started equating populism
Yeah,
to
I'm glad you said that because he's
to nasty things and,
Yeah.
and racism and white supremacy.
yes, and he does a great job
he-
saying they
yeah.
change the words
Yep.
and they change the meanings and
Yep.
then they make you feel like you're the one who's wrong when they're
Right.
the ones who are wrong.
Exactly.
But and then he goes on Pierce Morgan. I have that attached too.
Yeah.
and they discuss what he did.
Do you have that attached?
Yeah, I do have that
Okay.
attached. I have. It was
It's
amazing.
very-
We have
Very
we have a
well
lot of
said.
good stuff for you attached
Yep.
today. We
Yeah.
have Psalm 2 in the 26 Bible translation, so
That's
you want
cool.
to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but look, the Lord makes sport of them. It says while all this is going on, and that can happen right now, but that doesn't mean we just bury our heads in the sand. Okay, the totalitarians located in the country of Belgium, the city of the city of Brussels specifically, are trying to push. Brussels is trying to push the Hungarians, the people from Hungary. This is a sovereign nation, into accepting, because remember, it's a European Union there, to accepting all the immigrants, complete open borders. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Despite the fact that we know it's very clear the population over there in Hungary doesn't want it.
Right.
Okay, this is kind of what's going on over there. Our illustrious NBC, CBS, CNN, MSNBC, they don't want you to know this.
Yeah.
They would never tell you what's going on over there. And that's most of the U.S. population. The majority does not want open borders. All right? Does not want illegal immigrants, mostly men, many of them criminals, flooding into our country. Right. You know, all this sounds so much like George Washington's vision. George Washington, remember George Washington, the guy that I cannot tell a lie? He's famous. He's got he was a very honest man. Okay.
Yes.
Wow.
And so one of his
for chopping down the cherry tree.
Yeah, I know that's a that they kind of use that
fable,
but look, he had 3 visions. All right, an angel walked in his tent. George Washington said it was a female angel, by the way.
Interesting.
Yeah, so we got all those yahoos out there saying there's no female angels. He had a vision. I can tell you.
Or did he have long hair?
I can tell.
I haven't discussed that.
I'm kidding.
I can tell you, there's female demons, right? And so he had a vision of World War II and the Civil War. 2 different visions. Then there was a 3rd vision, and George Washington records all this. He wrote it down. We're gonna do this for you some week, okay? We're gonna pull out the George Washington visions of what's coming, and we're gonna do this in a later podcast. George Washington documented his angelic visit, and there's a book on it. You can't tell me he said a heavenly being spoke to him personally, showed him. He didn't know what it was, but he wrote it down. Turned out to be World War II and the Civil War. Showed him that, and you can see that now. Oh, that's what he saw.
Right.
When you compare what he saw to what happened. And so, but you know what? There was one more thing that happened. One more big thing that this country goes through that has not happened. All right? And I believe that this is what he saw. This is what he saw coming here. What we've got going. What we are headed towards with the open borders. That is going to happen. And this illustrious presidential administration, they want it. They want it. This is how you get the reset. I've said it before. I would be shocked if there were elections in November. I've been saying that for 2 years because if they have an election, they know they will lose.
Yeah.
Even if they do that, if they have an election, they will lose.
Yeah.
They will lose by mass. Okay? Because they're not in the they don't have the numbers.
Momentum has shifted.
They're the minority. The American public does not want open borders. So just like Brussels is forcing Hungary, there's something called a European Union that has power over there to do this with the immigration, the open borders. They're facing the Netherlands to do. They're doing the same thing. They're telling the Netherlands they have to do the same thing.
That probably should have been forcing, huh? Not facing.
Did I say facing?
No, you did. You said facing, then you said forcing.
The Christians in the Netherlands and Hungary are saying the same thing. We don't want this.
Right.
Their population doesn't want it, and they're forcing them on it. It's very evident that according to these elitist lefties, the Christian way of life has to go. It's very clear, and I think we're seeing the same thing with the ridiculous censorship of the Bible they're trying to do here in our national government. And you will know who the Republican plants are. The Republicans, they get to vote for this under the guise of we're just coming against anti-Semitism. That doesn't come from the Bible.
No.
Right? And so they're not the real thing. They're not real conservatives. They're not real conservatives.
No.
Those are plants. And this is the overall vision for the neo-liberal, unrecognizable Europe and the United States of America. This is their vision, where every city is just like Brussels. Zero cohesion, unsafe. This is the new world order. Yeah. This is what they're doing in Europe. No different than they're doing here. This is what Joe Biden wants. This is what Macron from France wants.
Yep.
The conservative over there in Britain, supposed conservative, the Indian guy, right?
Yeah.
He
Khan?
didn't he win as a conservative? He's not conservative.
I don't know if he
whose
did.
wife is one of the leaders in the World Economic Forum. That guy's not a conservative.
No.
The guy leading the British people. You haven't figured out there are Republican conservative plants.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? The answer is a strong Christian Europe, a strong Christian America. Not just to pray. Prayer is good. I've told you a million times. Listen to this, 1 Timothy 2, 1 through 5. First of all, I'm admonishing you, Christians, urging that petitions, prayers, intercessions be offered on behalf of all men, for kings and all who are in position of authority or high responsibility, that we may pass a quiet and undisturbed and peaceable life.
Right.
If you want a quiet, undisturbed, peaceable life, you have to pray for kings and all who are in positions of authority.
Right.
And I feel like we have done that. We've told you how to do that. You don't have to love them.
Yeah.
You can pray Psalm 94 at them, over them.
Right.
Okay? You're praying for them technically. Okay. And so if you want a peaceable life, these people have to be in your prayers. You have to pray for your government, right? So reject the lie that Christian nationalism causes war. All right, this is their new Obama word.
Right.
Let's call that the Obama word.
Okay.
What are you writing down there?
I'm preparing for the news.
Oh, okay.
Because it was a tight day.
It was a tight day, wasn't it?
Yep.
A lot of other stuff going on this week, huh?
There was. We do lots of things besides just the podcast.
It seems like it's been the case for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, it has.
Well, when
Just
you're
always
carrying
behind.
when you're carrying the full weekend, it's definitely.
But I've done it before and been ahead of it. We've been ahead. We're not ahead right now. And so, listen, we're talking about Christian nationalism. That's right. I'm a Christian nationalist. I believe in the Bible, if that's what the Christian nationalist is. I believe in literally in the Bible.
Well, and opposite of what that
The creed.
the lady that was on the newscast a few months ago, we talked about, who was talking about Christian nationalists. If you want to define me as someone who believes that my rights are given from the Creator and not from a government, then that's me.
They don't like that we put
They don't
God
like it.
above
Right.
everybody else. They
Right.
don't like that.
They want government to be the God, and
Listen.
government to be the source of their,
Yeah.
you know.
And
They're
if
a bunch
that
of idiots.
if that's what they're going to call a Christian nationalist, because we come out and say we're not for little kids who don't have a say, where a parent can make a 5-year-old boy into a girl legally. If we say that's not right, if that's a Christian nationalist, I'm a Christian nationalist.
Mm-hmm.
If a Christian nationalist is not allowing a 46-year-old man who identifies as a 4-year-old go sit in the 4-year-old classroom at church, then I'm a Christian nationalist.
Right.
Because I'm not going to let that happen.
No.
If I'm a Christian nationalist and you say, if you're calling me a Christian nationalist because I say you're killing babies in the womb and it's murder in Minnesota, and they want to kill the baby when it's full term and about to be born tomorrow, and I'm calling them murderers, and I don't agree with that, and that makes me a Christian nationalist, okay, that's what I am. If it's a Christian nationalist to say we need borders, we don't believe people should just be allowed to come over the borders, get a free iPhone, and have the American people support their living for years
$9,000
and
a
cover
month.
up their crimes, then I'm a Christian nationalist. It's not nationalism. It's not national sovereignty. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's called expansionism. And the European Union, just like over here, Brussels, Belgium, has become expansionists. They're expanding. With their expansion, what they're doing is causing war or bringing war.
Yeah.
Not believing in your national sovereignty, right? Not believing in your national sovereignty is what causes the war. We believe in our national sovereignty. Do we not?
Yeah,
Yes.
we do.
Right. And, it was really cool to view some people. There's still some people over there fighting for the same thing in Europe. And I saw a credible 12-minute video. And that's where this podcast comes from. We'll talk about that. Think about this. The same people that are trying to take away our national sovereignty are the same people that are telling you have to give billions and billions of dollars to the national sovereignty of the Ukraine people.
Mm-hmm.
These are the same
they just
people.
passed a bill to give another $2 billion in funds to Ukraine. Anthony Blinken, thank you.
Am I going too
There's
far?
some
No.
information on Blinken. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
Well,
You want to attach that to the more section
yeah, I
for
can
people to
send
read,
it to
John?
you. Yeah.
You need to read the more section because it's very interesting this week. We're not going far enough here. This is a structural attack that is very, very organized, very, very well thought out on our civilization of Western Europe and America. If you want proof, check out our more section and see what they're saying over in Europe. This is a CPAC event that we have for you in Hungary, right? Hungary's standing up. And I think it's very interesting. You'll find out that the Christians over there are talking about the exact same things that are going on over here. And it was happy breath of fresh air to see this woman speak in front of a huge crowd, to hear people in Europe are standing and fighting against this. Her name is Ava. How do we even pronounce that?
Vladimir broke.
I don't know, but she's been on Tucker Carlson, and she is amazing.
This woman's amazing.
She's impressive. She's 27 years old.
She's a Dutch commentator.
Yeah.
She reminds me of like Charlie Kirk, but for...
Yeah. I first saw her when she was highlighting the farmers in
Yes.
Dutchland.
Yeah.
Yes, and let me tell you something about her.
Dutchland's right.
We found 12 minutes of her speaking in Hungary. And so we said, that's going to be the basis of this podcast. But we put her 12 minutes so you can view it. You should hear her.
Right.
We use some of the things we said from what she said to inform you. For those that don't watch the links, it only takes 12 minutes to look at what she said. And it made me realize it's just as bad in Europe.
Right.
This is a worldwide structural attack on our civilization.
That's why they call it the Great Reset.
As Eva called it, probably Eva.
Yeah.
A totalitarian institute is what this is. What they have going. This is what the people are meeting in Psalms 2. And she believes it can be brought down. She's calling it for it to be brought down. She said over there, they're not doing enough. And it's the same thing here.
Right.
Taking the words out of Eva's mouth, she's talking about Europe. I'm talking about America, agreeing with her. We are the daughters and sons of the greatest nations on earth. And we're going to let these people take it from us.
Right.
Is that what we're going to do? That's what she says. No. The elites of the world, literally, the special liberal elites of the world have declared war. And you need to believe it. You need to receive it.
I think they overplayed their hand. I think people's eyes are being opened and people are seeing them for what they are now.
Right.
I've just heard too many things of people switching sides or saying, like even Michael Rappaport, I sent you that the other day. He was totally against Trump. And he's like,
super anti-Trump.
You know what? I'm not anti-Trump anymore. I went and did the research for myself. That's what everybody I've heard
Got to
say.
go fishing.
Is that the comedian?
Yeah. He was on Friends.
Actor.
He was Phoebe's boyfriend.
And he's an actor.
Yeah.
Less
but even like, I think I was reading the black vote. All the black voters now are saying, we're not voting for Biden.
Right.
Trump has impressed us in court. That's what they're saying. Like the left tried to ruin Trump in court. And they're saying, if anything, he showed his integrity.
Yep.
Like they've tried to use all these loopholes against him. They created a law against him in New York to try him.
Right.
Once they got him convicted of that, then they took that out of their laws. So it was just literally against Trump.
Listen to this. If you don't know what to pray, turn to Psalm 94, 12 through 23. Pray it to the Father in the name of Jesus every day. Say, this is over my country.
Yeah.
This is over my government. This is over my state government. And this is over the government of, I would say, Israel and over there in Europe.
Yep.
All those countries over there in Europe and the European Union. Technically, you're praying for everyone in authority.
Right.
You can pray Psalm 94, 12 through 23. Do it. Check it out. Okay? Check it out. And to get there, there's a link we've got in the More section that takes you to our church prayers, right?
Well,
Confessions. It'll take you, right?
Well, I have that attached, but that one is actually only Psalm 94, 16 through 23. So I attached both Psalm 94, 12 through 23 and Psalm 94, 16 through 23. So you have both versions. If you want to go long-winded that day, or if you want to pray a short prayer like John and I. Odd even.
Yeah.
Okay,
Today's even.
Like a watering
Go
system.
ahead. How many pages of news you got there, Lonaiah?
Just
45.
Okay.
So I don't know if anyone saw this, but I don't think I could talk for 45 pages.
Yeah,
Biden
I think you
agrees.
Just got to get her started.
Biden
get her
agrees.
talking about how she can run or how much she knows about nutrition, and she'll tell you.
I've watched a lot of things the last few days. It's amazing what the internet has. But anyways.
She does her research.
I do my research.
She does her own fishing.
I do. I don't depend on anybody for that. Biden, not the Lord, but that's it. Biden agrees to debate Trump, but demands...
I'm glad you give him credit.
Yes,
Two different dates.
special rules.
Yeah.
I heard only one date in June, but maybe it's changed
I think
since
there's
last
one
night.
in September on CBS or whatever.
Yes, so Joe Biden and Donald Trump have agreed to hold, 2 presidential debates. But the current president is demanding a range of stipulations. Imagine that. No live audience.
Oh.
Candidates' microphones are muted when it isn't their turn. Reduce the number of debates from 3 to just 2. Move the debates to earlier in the election calendar. And only debate on Democrat-friendly networks.
Oh, no.
Well, they're all Democrat-friendly networks.
They are. But you know what? Good. And you know what? Did you hear him trash talking Donald Trump? And I thought, brother, it was like this side of yesterday. You were mumbling over yourself.
Yeah,
So you took your medication and now you're like coherent enough to speak it today.
Yeah.
But
Take him back behind the woodshed. And
I wonder how many times they've had to hide him walking to his plane and falling down.
so many, but like there's so much content out there on him. I think someone from, I don't know who, they put together all of his things and it was mind-boggling, like how just he looks like an idiot. There was one picture where he, not that I care, but it was like noon, right? And it was, I think it was the day that, I think October 7th. I feel like it was like October right around that. And no one could get a hold of him because he was sleeping.
Yeah.
And it was like noon and someone had to go wake him up. Like he just naps all day long.
Right.
But he had like his CPAC machine, like, or what is it called?
The CPAP.
Yeah. And like the tape
CPAC
lines and everything were on it. And someone's like,
Political Action Committee.
yeah, it is not that on Joe
And
Biden's
Joe
face.
didn't have that on his face.
Anyways. Okay, I have something to say about voting because Jim was talking about voting. He doesn't think there's going to be election.
And then once that's done, I've got a couple.
Well, if there is, you need to vote. You're
items.
stupid not to vote. Yeah.
But can I say...
And go to the polls. Don't mail it in. Don't mail it in.
No, but in 28 states, a student ID counts as a valid form of identification for voting. He said student IDs do not distinguish, this is Ryan Forner, between citizens or non-citizens.
Nope, not at all.
So that should surprise, I mean, doesn't surprise us, but that should be alarming to you. Like, we should demand that doesn't happen, right?
They'll still lose.
And I was reading today that they will. The southern border, from an executive order from Joe Biden, that he said after 4,000 migrants cross daily, they're going to close it down.
Oh, thanks,
That's
Joe.
Joe.
Now?
And now. And we had a lot of people write in because last week or the week before, America was saying that if Israel went into Rafah, that we would cut off sending arms over.
Right.
Well, today, Biden's administration said that they would give $1 billion in aid to Israel, so they're not going to stop.
That's why you pray.
That's why you
We
pray.
prayed about that in church.
Yes.
Yes,
So
if
I'm
you
just
pray.
updating that we're moving forward and we're giving $1 billion in new arms to Israel.
Yes. Thank you, Lord.
If I can just add quickly, there's
ahead.
a few things locally going on.
Yeah, sure.
I've been talking about the Osseo School District. There's a couple things going on. There's a committee that, or a group. It's Parents United for Osseo, Osseo School. And they're doing a couple of different things. One of them is actually tonight on Thursday. We've got a guest speaker talking about some of the things, especially like the bathroom situations. Basically, it's a talk called "The Kids Are Not All Right," and basically,
I've heard about that.
Basically, things that are going on in the schools in trying to have that conversation and talk about it. So that's tonight, Thursday. So obviously this is before.
Can I say one thing about the children are not all right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I've seen lately on social media, and even my mom and dad, they go on a walk every night.
Yeah.
They said they have seen so many furries. Remember when we talked about furries 2 years ago, and it was like, that's not really happening.
Yeah.
My mom's like, the number of children I've seen dressed up and acting like furries.
Identify.
So you're identifying as an animal, and you're being walked by a human. Right?
Yep.
That is what these people are doing. This is in Plymouth, okay?
Right.
And my mom's like, I just went on a walk and I saw like 4 groups of furries.
Well, spirit. Yeah. It's a spirit.
So
go ahead.
The other night, you and I were talking with Kathy Burkett.
Yes.
Who is up for a state senate.
Yes. In Plymouth.
In Plymouth.
A seat, yes.
I think District 42 is what she said. Anyway, she was on a call, like a national conservative call, a couple of weeks ago, and they had a guest on who was saying
JJ Bryant, I think his name is.
Yeah, there's 250,000 is what they have come up to the total of military age men and military trained men that are illegal immigrants that are in the country who are basically operating in cells. And so be praying over your country, because if they are able to execute the things that they have been set out with orders to do, it will not be a good day for the United States. So
250,000 illegal immigrants
praying over your state,
militarily trained,
and your community, and be watching. And then the last thing, my brother-in-law, DeJuan, he is running for school board in Osseo School District.
Yes.
And so there's 3 conservatives that are up for trying to get some of those school board seats to try to combat the crazy things that Osseo and the state that have started to try to implement as far as gender ideology, as well as the LGBTQ plus ideology.
I know Jim wants to end, but let me just really fast tell this story, because there was a dad, he had twin boys. They're in 5th grade. One of the boys was in a class where the teacher read a book, and it was talking about the dad's shadow, how the dad's shadow is blue, but this boy thought his shadow was pink.
Right.
And he would put on like tutus when his dad wasn't in the room. So it was basically saying like, hey, you want to identify as a girl, but you feel like you can't because you're a man and your shadow is blue. So this is 5th grade. So the teacher like kind of reads the book and opens the door to this discussion. The boy's like, that's wrong. That's weird.
Right.
Well, then they tell these 5th graders that they have to go, you know how they do like read a book to kids in younger grades?
Right.
They give all the kids in 5th grade the book to read to the kindergartners.
Oh my gosh.
And the parents found out about this and got mad. And the school's like, parents are no longer allowed to know what books we're reading. But that's why you pay attention. You ask your kids and you say, what are you reading? Because this dad went on a bunch of talk shows and explained it and was like, we have to be paying attention to what they're trying to push our kids into in schools these days.
Okay, John, within 10 seconds, make that announcement again about Kathy Burkett and what she said.
So Kathy Burkett.
This is a lady running for office as a senator in District 42, okay? And she doesn't, she's a Christian nationalist.
Yes.
Okay, it was by J.J. Carroll, retired Border Patrol agent and author. That's who is the guy who she was on the call with.
So he was on that call.
Yes.
He said that is what they're documenting, what they've estimated, 250,000 military-aged men who are they are organized into cells. Like they would come across the border in a group of about 10, and they would just disappear.
And those are illegal immigrants.
Those are illegal immigrants. Yep.
And this is a member of our church running for
State Senate.
District 42, Kathy Burkett. If you vote for her, She doesn't believe in abortion at all.
Nope.
She doesn't believe in the transgender thing. She doesn't believe in the immigration thing.
Right.
Okay, that you're going to get that. All right. But what I'm saying is, it's this is why you have to pray.
Yes.
Right. You have
Okay.
to.
And if you're going to a church that's not even talking about this, you really need to consider going somewhere else.
Yep.
I would, because you know what, that guy, you know, he's kind of weak. If he's one of those guys, it's just my opinion.
Yep.
In the world we're in, I think he's kind of weak.
Yep.
All right. So and thank you, Grace, Eden Prairie. Thank you, Rod Ketterling.
Yeah.
Right. There are churches that are doing
There's tons.
what they should do.
There's private schools
So-
going to all these events and showing
Rob
up at the
Rob
Capitol.
Ketterling. Sorry.
Rob, yeah.
At River Valley.
Yep.
And so, all right. Well, John has to leave in 7
nailed
minutes.
it. Yes.
Where are you going, John? Or
8
I don't
minutes.
wanna-
Jake's got his permit test.
Oh,
Yeah.
Let's
Jake.
go, Jake.
Come on, buddy.
go, Jake.
Go, Jake. Go.
Written or yeah, it is.
It's
just
the written.
Yeah,
Just the
permit
written.
test is written.
Yeah.
God,
All right.
they try to confuse you on those.
Listen, you need to pray, and we can dominate. We can win this thing.
Yes.
We're trying to usher in a glorious church going up in the
Yes.
rapture, a church that's
Yep.
dominating, right? That's what the Bible says the Lord is coming back for a glorious church.
Amen.
That means a church that is winning, okay?
Yep.
But if you put your head in the sand and you ignore it and you don't even pray, you know, what do you want to restrain it like the Bible says, or do you just want to just let it happen and
Right.
pray
No
for the
way.
rapture?
We
So-
didn't get this far to just let it all go.
Right.
And I will say, as we end, Jennifer, I do believe that you really watch the whole thing now,
The whole thing.
Gamma Phi Beta. That Jennifer?
yeah, let's.
Okay.
I love how Lonaiah does that. It makes me smile.
A
We'll
Valley
close
girl?
on. Do it one more time,
I
Lonaiah.
can't. That was just.
Come on, just do
Gamma
that.
Phi Beta.
Thank you, John.
No, that was better. Do it.
Gamma Phi. Gamma Phi. Gamma Phi Beta. Like that.
Gamma Phi represent.
But can I say one thing about that? If you are a girl and you want to go into sorority, Jennifer was telling me today, because she has family members who are in Freemasons, and her uncles tried to get her dad before he passed away to go into Freemasonry, which we did a whole podcast on that.
Yes.
But her dad said to her before she became a sorority member, because you have to do pledges, he was like, do not repeat anything they say, because you have no idea what ties you're making when
Right.
you make those
Yep.
statements.
Yep.
And I was like,
Yeah.
you had to make pledges? Like, you think pledging? And she's, and I just thought it was simple. And she's like, no, they are like serious
Yeah.
pledges that you're making to who knows what
Peyton decided
spiritual
not
entities.
to join any of them because she was like, "This is no good."
This is yes.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, if you are thinking about going to a fraternity or sorority, because people like community, right? And there's not judging you, but I'm saying pay attention
Right.
to what anyone is getting you to pledge or speak after them,
Yeah.
because your words have power. Anyways,
And one more word of wisdom: don't just believe anything someone tells you about nutrition. God
do
bless.
your own fishing.
Gotta
Thank you
go
for
fishing.
watching. Thank you for watching the Final Hour podcast.